Hello and hello and welcome to Sports Talk. It is Saturday, January 21, 2022. I'm Daniel Blake. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate the support each and every week. And we don't take those things for granted. Today, we are expected to have yet another great show. We'll soon be joined by athletes, manager, and in my opinion, super marketing consultant Tanya Perkins. We'll be speaking about, just about her successful career. She manages some of the best athletes in the country, including Reggae Boys captain Andre Blake, defender Damian Lowe, sprinter Brianna Williams, and a whole lot more. So we'll hear about her career and also how athletes and sporting associations can better market themselves, because as you often hear in conversations, them broke the marketing strategies not working. So from her point of view, we can see how best to improve that. So we will hear her insight hopefully after the 1:15 break. So remember that you can listen to the show in several different ways, and you can also watch the show if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook on Love 101 FM's pages. Wherever you are in the world, we are live. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it is there for life. So if you have to go up on the road and do something, or you might want to watch it again, then the link is always there. So YouTube and Facebook, Love 101 FM page. Just type in Sports Talk, whichever episode you want to watch. It's always there. And you can also listen on the Love 101 FM app in the Google Play or Apple Store. And you can also go into the podcast section and find Sports Talk, so you can also listen to it again or recommend it to a friend. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, even though this isn't really old-fashioned, but because technology moving so fast, you can go in your internet browser, love101.org, or you can turn on your radio, 101.1 all the way to 101.9 from here in Kingston all the way to Hanover. So just find the appropriate band and then you'll be able to hear. Remember, you can also interact with me throughout the show with your questions and your comments. 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. We have a lot to talk about. If you want to participate, feel free to do that. And also, if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, you can leave it in the comment section and I'll ensure to read it there. So we're going to have a great show. By the way, the camera move, right? So usually I turn so for those on Facebook and YouTube, I usually turn to my right, but no, I turn to my left. So everything feel kind of weird. Like my neck is just, it just I do its own thing. But we're gonna have a great show. My monologue is coming up shortly, and I will tell you something special about my monologue, which, as you know, is a Danielog. So remind me before I start to tell you just a very short announcement on it, okay? But before that, let's start with the sports bit, which is the mini sports report, all right? So the sports bits. So let's start with the National Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year Awards. So reigning world 100-meter champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce was named the National Sportswoman of 2022 at the annual awards ceremony held yesterday, which was Friday. The 36-year-old, who claimed her fifth 100-meter world title in Eugene last summer, edged the world champion 200-meter champion, Sharika Jackson to the award. Meanwhile, Rashid Broadbell beat 400-meter hurdler Jahil Hyde and cricket star Rovman Powell to win his first ever Sportsman of the Year award. Broadbell won the 110-meter hurdles at the Commonwealth Games by equaling the record of 13.08 seconds, and former world record holder Asafa Powell was presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award. Asafa Maidan. So big ups to Asafa there, Shelly, Rashid, and everybody who was nominated and won different awards on the night. So the Reggae Boys head coach, Heimer Hallgrimson, says he's pleased with the talent he's seen so far after a recent two-day camp with locally based players. The camp, which saw 30 call-ups from clubs and schools across the country, was used by Hallgrimson to get familiar with the players and facilities. Hallgrimson, who was named coach late last year, also said that he hopes to spot more talented players in the coming weeks when he attends more Jamaica Premier League games. The Reggae Boys' next assignment is against Mexico in the CONCACAF Nations League in March. Now, Sports Minister Olivia Babsy-Grange says Jamaica will be hosting a delegation from the Trinidad and Tobago government who will conduct a study tour of the country's sports program. As part of the study tour, they will visit a number of schools and institutions, including the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission, and participate in discussions with Minister Grange and officials in the sports ministry. Jamaica will also be sharing its expertise with several other Caribbean countries next week when it hosts the two-day World Anti-Doping Agency Forum for Ministers of Sports from the region beginning next Thursday in Kingston. And finally, 8th placed Liverpool and 10th placed Chelsea showed why they're mid-table teams after a dull goalless draw at Anfield in the English Premier League today. Can you imagine? I wake up 7:15 this morning because matches start 7:30. Oh, that was a real dreadful game. But both teams moved to 29 points and are currently 9 points off the top 4 spot. Reggae boy Leon Bailey held Aston Villa in their 1-0 win over Southampton. But the marquee clash will take place on Sunday as leaders Arsenal will battle third-placed Manchester United. Man City will look to keep pace when they play Wolves, and on Monday, Tottenham play Fulham. So that was your sports bits for this afternoon. I so introduce you, okay, Tanya? Don't worry about it, and then put you on camera and everything. All right, so we are going to go into my monologue for this week. And remember, I have a special sort of announcement, so get ready.
Connection established. It's time for Daniel's weekly monologue.
I'm Ariel Brown Blake.
I'm Dave Blake.
I'm Hope Blake.
I'm David Blake.
And it's time for the Tanya-log.
The Tanya-log.
The Tanya-log.
The Tanya-log.
All right. So remember my announcement before I go into the Tanya-log. So the Press Association of Jamaica, they have National Journalism Awards every year. And they have the Maurice Cargill Award, which is done for opinion journalism. Now, I can tell you that because of my monologue, which happens each week before the start of the show. No, the show starts. It can't be at the start of the show. It happens at the start of the show. So it has, I've been nominated for the Maurice Cargill Award for opinion journalism. So, yeah, so my views kind of make sense. So, when you listen to me each week, and because of your responses and everything, you guys kept me going. And fortunately, the panel thought my views also made sense. So, thank you, everyone, for the support week in, week out. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm a nominee. Can you believe I do have a business if I win? Even if I didn't get nominated, it's still important. But I'm grateful, and yeah. So your support is always loved and appreciated. So thank you. So, anyways, I don't want to get emotional. Why am I getting emotional in the first place? Anyways, so over the last 2 weeks, you guys all know the major sporting issue. Well, it's not a sporting issue, right? It's a news issue which so happens to involve a major sports star. So we talked about it last week in a little brief sense because it wasn't a major sporting issue, so I didn't want to harp on it. But the comments that have happened since then is why I'm going to talk about it in a different light. So we all know what's happening with Bolt. We don't need to go back over that. But some of the comments that kind of intrigue me are the ones where I guess people don't understand how big Bolt is. So the news start reaching places like CNN and BBC, popular social media pages like Shade Room, all of those places, right? And Jamaicans are so shocked and almost embarrassed that this is on the People and page, like it's international coverage. Like they're literally shocked. And I always wonder like why people are shocked when especially our sports stars reach on these mega platforms. I think we don't understand how huge our athletes are and their brands are, because Bolt is not a normal man, you know. He's an 8-time Olympic gold medalist. He still has the record in the 100, 200, and 4x1. Bolt is literally a megastar. He's not a Jamaican superstar. He is a world superstar, right? And remember a few weeks ago, back in December, when Elaine Thompson Hera was on Asafa's podcast, and they were saying how they aren't regular people, they are superstars, and a lot of people criticize them for it. Now, I'm not sure why, because to be very honest, they were speaking the truth. If they weren't Jamaican, do you think that, you know, their status would be higher than it is? You know, sometimes them say when them going to certain places, paraphrasing, that is, people kind of judge them because them don't hail them or whatever. Like, and I'm just like, I mean, not to say that they shouldn't say like good afternoon to maybe like a receptionist or people that they're dealing with, but they must just see random people and hail them. I mean, but anyways, my point of this is to show you how big and powerful sports is and can be and should be. We have athletes who have proven themselves that they are some of the best in the world and deserve the world's coverage, whether good or bad. So as you go on through your life and you know you see these athletes performing on the track, or if you see them off the track, just know that you know they worked very hard for what they've accomplished. Nothing was given to them, like Bolt posted on his various social media pages this morning. He posted with his medals and it said earned and not given. So hopefully this year and going forward in the years to come, we can show more respect to our athletes. Now tell yourself to go down in the street and bow down and worship them. No, but our athletes are a huge deal across all sports, so they deserve more respect. And someone who deserves a lot of respect and knows a lot of what I'm talking about is Tanya Lee Perkins. We will hear from her after the 1:15 break. So stay with us right here on Sports Talk.
Love 101's 30th anniversary under the theme 30 years of music, family, and love. The celebration has begun with the 30 Days of Love Challenge. Today is day 7, Saturday, January 21. Here's your assignment. Buy food
Wayne,
for a
you know Flo
homeless
Yard
person.
Road now faster than ever.
Yeah, my virgin just get it.
Him love it, though. especially the 200 megabit speed, and getting a Samsung tablet or phone for $999 plus GCT. You know you got the phone
So, you coming home now?
right after I pass the board.
There's never been a better time to get the invaluable value of Flow Yard and Road. Sign up and get fiber fast internet at home, unlimited social, YouTube, talk and text for just $4,999 plus GCT, and save big on a Samsung phone or tablet. Conditions apply.
It's Love 101's 30th anniversary under the theme 30 years of music, family, and love. The celebration has begun with the 30 Days of Love Challenge. Today is day 7, Saturday, January 21. Here's your assignment. Buy food.
Okay, where are the campus eyes? Students are stuck up in a price.
Don't miss Campus Connection on Tuesday, January 24, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 as we look at financial literacy. Are you a student who is interested in leveling up your finances? Ever wondered how students can invest? What are some creative ways students can budget wisely? Yes, it's all here inside Campus Connection. We will be talking to investment gurus who will shed light on the way to maximize on your investments. Also, you don't want to miss I Chose Christ, You Should Too, and lots more right here on Campus Connection. 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 24 on the family station, Love 101.
Yay! Get ready for an inspiring time inside Love in the Morning with me, your host, Jakal Dyer. This Monday, January 23, 5:30 a.m. is Becoming You, a feature that shares tips on how to become the best version of who you are. Then, grab your cup of coffee and start the day right with Morning Coffee Pick Me Up Devotional at 6 a.m. This Music Monday's theme is God's Power. 8:30 a.m. inside Healthy Way, we discuss tinnitus. 9:30 a.m. is Something More, brought to you by the Faith Cathedral Deliverance Center. Stick and stay with us. This Pick Me Up Monday inside Love in the Morning. 5 to 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
101. Okay, where are the campus eyes? Students are stuck up in a price.
Don't miss Campus Connection on Tuesday, January 24, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 as we look at financial literacy. Are you a student who is interested in leveling up your finances? Ever wondered how students can invest? What are some creative ways students can budget wisely? Yes, it's all here inside Campus Connection. We will be talking to investment gurus who will shed light on the way to maximize on your investments. Also, you don't want to miss I Chose Christ, You Should Too, and lots more right here on Campus Connection. 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 24 on the family station, Love 101.
All right, welcome back to Sports Talk here on Love 101. It is 1:20 p.m. right here in Kingston, Jamaica. And I am now joined by athletes manager and supermarketing consultant, Tanya Lee.
Fanciness.
Yeah, those are your
I
titles.
like those
right?
intros. I was
Yeah.
listening to the intro at the start of the show, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but that's
Thanks,
what you do.
Daniel.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for coming. So let me just.
By the way, I don't do a lot of interviews. You know why I came, right?
Yeah, because of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I thought you did such a great job with CVM.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah, you're
much.
great on the World Cup.
Thank you so much. But we've been connected for a while, but not to your knowledge.
Yes.
So let me just tell you this quick story. So you were a point of contention in my relationship at one point, but not in the way that you think. So a few years ago, I wanted to do more sports readings and so forth. So my wife bought me.
The Winner Within
She
by
did.
Tanya Lee.
There we go.
Wow.
But 2 days after I got it, the book was missing.
What? Somebody took it?
No.
It was well sought after, Daniel.
I realized that, and that's one of the things that she told me. So she constantly asked me, if I found the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't find the book. It was only until I moved out and then the book appeared.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So did you read it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And in some of my questions, I'm going to give some references from the book. So
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So let's start with the cliche question is like, where did your passion for sports come from? Because during the coverage that I did recently, we were involved in a lot of off-air passionate discussions about sports, and that it was crazy at times. But where did that passion start?
Where did my passion for sports start? I get asked that a lot. You're right. It is a cliche question, and I don't ever really know how to answer it because there were so many little things along the way. But I think if I was over the years to look at my life and to say this may be the one definitive thing that I'm sure of that led me onto the path that I went, it was really my father and his love for cricket. Mm-hmm. So my father was a big cricket fan who set up his entire life around the West Indies schedule. And of course, cricket is like 6 hours, right? 5 days, right?
I would say more than 6 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot. So obviously, if you're sitting down at home, you'll be like, say, we want some cricket. And you end up sitting in front of the TV. You're watching cricket for hours. And then you eventually will learn to love it. So I grew up on Brian Lara, Jimmy Adams, and the West Indies team. That was really, I remember days when I used to run home to see Cody Walsh because, I had a nail-biting finish for the West Indies team. But my father really fueled that love for sports. And then eventually, as I participated in school, I was actually a late bloomer in track and field, and it started at the university level where I actually joined the track and field team after I did pretty well in a cross-country event. So in high school, I didn't really participate much in sports. So I was definitely a late bloomer, and I fell in love with it. Used to raise money on campus for the sports teams, the track team, participated for the university in track and field. And so I guess after that, my love really that was what I think cemented my love in sports.
And then you were involved with Sportsmax for quite a long while. You did some on-air work. You were head of marketing. So what made you decide to go into athletes management essentially? Especially because it wasn't, and probably still isn't, a very popular career here in Jamaica.
No, I think I kind of carved out a niche for myself in that regard. But really, I started, firstly, I spent, was it 14, was it 15, was it 16 years at Sportsmax? I was there for quite some time. That was really where I think my career blossomed. And the brand was 2 years old when I joined the company. And as the brand grew, I grew as a market. So I kind of feel like we grew together. So,
because you said that once the CEO started at 6, you also started at 6.
Oh, you remember that
story that you also mentioned.
That is true. I think you really have to mirror where you want to be. So I thought that it was a very passionate team, by the way. I had seen this team at basketball in Jamaica. I was actually working on Special Olympics. I was a part of the Special Olympics Caribbean board. And we went to watch a basketball game, I remember, with the then president. He was from the Bahamas. Don't quite remember his name. I think David. And we saw this team of people in the Sportsmax shirts. And I said, wait, there's a sports channel in Jamaica? Then I remembered back. Hussein actually used to be my neighbor. And I remember being over Hussein's house once, and he was watching in himself. I think it was from Gibson Relays. And he keeps timing himself on this relay. And I'm like, why you keep watching this thing over? And I remember that it was Sportsmax that he was looking at. I believe it was Gibson, by the way. It's a long time ago. This was like 2002, maybe. So that was really my introduction to the channel. And the rest is pretty much history. I grew with the brand.
So now you are more active in athlete and brand management and so forth. I remember, again, another reference. You said you've been part of a lot of interviews, and 50% of the time you knew that even before it started, it was a no because of their body language and so forth. So when it comes to...
You mean in terms of the athletes?
when you said you were at Sportsmax, right?
Yes.
You said when you
Oh,
were,
job interviews.
yes,
Yes.
because you were like no before it even started because their body language was
Sports
off.
is a passion. You have to be passionate about it.
So
you know?
then when choosing athletes or athletes choosing you, do you like look at those things like they have like this confidence?
100%. The truth is, I like to build brands, but I also don't want to start from ground zero. It's very hard. And I've had those experiences, by the way. So my preference is actually to, I want to work with people who I think have a great work ethic, who I think are dedicated to what they're doing. It makes my job easier. And it certainly, I believe, it sets everybody up for success. So there are some things that I look for. I want to see a good management team around the athletes as well, outside of myself, a good agent set up in terms of coaching, in terms of teams that they're involved with, things like that makes my job that much easier. Maybe you can think of it like a Jose Marino. Like I'm not necessarily going to build them. I've had somewhere I started from ground zero. But by and large, so for example, even looking at Brianna Williams, I remember I had approached Atta Bolden about working with Brianna. And it's because I believed in what Atta was doing with a young Brianna. I mean, the fastest 15-year-old in the world. Certainly I could see that she would materialize into what she became, which is the youngest Olympic gold medalist in Jamaica's history. So, that is something that I look for. I look for the team. I look for the work ethic. I'm looking for stick-to-itiveness, passion, and all my athletes embody that.
So how do you end up convincing them to use you? Because
interesting that you said that I convinced them to use me. Actually, I want to tell you, that was how I started out. So when I just started, I would obviously have to pitch. I would have pitched for like an Elaine Thompson when I just started out with her. At the start of her career, and I would have pitched for Brianna, but I get to a point where no, a lot of athletes do approach me. Daniel.
Yeah, well, I assume that in 2023, but like in those early days when you were creating that niche, did you find it more difficult, especially because it wasn't something that you did before, and that because you're a woman and you know?
I've never really thought of myself as a woman, and this was difficult for me. I don't see gender when I think of myself. I'm not sure what that is, but I've always been very confident in my abilities. This is something I love. I think I'm good at what I do, and it was something that I've always been passionate about. So it's funny that even though I reached out to some athletes, there were athletes who had always reached out to me, even in my role when I was vice president marketing with Sportsmax. I remember I'd interview athletes, or I develop relationships with athletes over the years through working together, because I've done so many leagues and competitions across basketball, track and field, golf, football, cricket, you name it. I did every sport possible and managed any event or league you can think of throughout the region, whether it was Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica. And so over time, people would say, hey, I need some help with my brand, or can you help me to craft this press release, or I want to announce something, what you think is the best way for me to do it. So initially, people were thinking of me in the publicist space. And then I had people who said, I have this sponsorship thing. I got approached, but I really don't know how to go about finalizing it. Can you help with the negotiations? So, and you know how it is, right? With entrepreneurship, a lot of times, it is what others see in you. And whatever they're calling you up for. So if they're saying, Daniel, we need you on a panel, then that's where you are, Daniel.
I've never told that story before. One day I'll tell it.
I'm going to tell it. I'm telling it today.
Hold on. You've heard that story?
I've heard that story. A very good friend of mine, somebody I've worked with, shared the story with me. So we're connected in more ways than one.
Okay. One day I'll tell that story. As a matter of fact.
I can't tell it today?
No, because it's more about you. It's not about me.
You listen. No, it's about both of us.
No, all right. Next time when I tell the story on air, I'll call you so that you can hear. Is that fine?
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll allow you to tell your story. I'm a marketer and I want to tell it for you.
I mean, yeah. But one thing before the break. So to my knowledge, you have Damian Lowe, Andre Blake, and Brianna Williams. Those are like your three marquee.
I don't think of any of my athletes as marquee. I think of everyone as, I think they're equally important to what I do.
No, not to you, I mean, just in in the space? Because for them thing not normal.
Well, my athletes are in different spaces. So like I have athletes across like car racing, and I work with different clients in different capacities. So some of the people that I work with are not just in track and field or football, as you had mentioned, but I have like in motorsports, I work with Fraser McConnell, I work with Sarah Mizier. They're doing very well in motorsports. And so there are other athletes in the portfolio. A Bunny Shaw is a part of my setup. So it's much more than what you mentioned.
No, I just wanted to mention those three specifically because those are what I know, but thank you for plugging those as well. But because you say that, I know all of them are different, all of them have different personalities. How do you manage all that and at the same time make them feel like you are giving them equal attention?
That's always a work in progress, I believe, in terms of equal attention, because everyone has their season, so to speak. There are different times where my focus may have to shift to one in particular, depending on what's happening in their career. But the truth is, I do try to balance it evenly across the board, as well as a lot of times I try to match the energy of my athletes as well. So where I might have an introvert on my hand that they're not particularly so much in love with the spotlight, then I will tailor what I do to accommodate that, because I never believe in forcing people outside of their comfort zone to do something that they're uncomfortable about. And for those who are more outgoing and sociable, and this is in terms of being in front of the camera, you will find that they will grab more of the opportunities. And so I will channel those specifically to those persons. So it varies across the board. So I'm going to use two examples. For example, Jamaica's captain and Jamaica's vice captain for the Reggae Boys, Andre Brick and Damian Lowe, two very different people, two very different personalities. You'd have worked with both of them on the set for CVM's World Cup coverage. And so I always bear in mind that here are two different brands. And so I'd never treat any two athlete brands the same.
So I know I said I'll go into the break, but how do you like go about doing that? Because in the corporate world, especially, once they see a footballer, they only see them as a footballer. They don't see their personality or their characteristics. Same for all the other sports, whether it's, athletics, cricket, motorsports, as you mentioned. How do you let, in these negotiations with, corporate Jamaica and others, that these aren't just footballers, they have their own stories to tell?
I didn't know people were looking at them as just footballers. But that's a part of my job, though, Danielle. A part of my job is to ensure that people look beyond what they're doing on the field of play, and that they understand that these are human beings with personalities. So much of my work on the brand management side is ensuring that I am pulling on the persona to create a story around them. I'm pulling on their successes to create a story around them, to galvanize interest around the brand. So I've had recently people who have called me, and there is this interest in an Andre Blake just by virtue of the fact that we've highlighted for this year much of what he's accomplished, because he's doing great things in the MLS. I mean, this is a top goalkeeper in the MLS. And I'm looking at somebody who, the MLS has 128 countries are represented in the MLS. And for you to be the top goalkeeper in that league, for you to be voted, nominated for the MVP a number of times, for you to be the first player in MLS history to be voted goalkeeper of the year, and the first goalkeeper in MLS history to be drafted first, number one draft pick. That's a big deal. That's an accomplishment. So that's my job as well. You want to put those kind of statistics in front of the average person for them to say, hey, we need to be looking at this brand.
Yeah, the Blakes tend to do very well in whatever they do.
The Blakes do well in whatever they do.
All right.
In your Kobe Bryant shirt.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
All right. So we are going to go to our break. Tanya will still be with us. So ask your questions if you have any, and then I'll read it to her. Nothing difficult, because I want her to come back in the future.
No, it's fine. There's nothing too difficult.
Okay.
Send your questions in.
Let me, because I have a curveball here, but we'll see. So stay with us right here on Love 101.
Don't miss Campus Connection on Tuesday, January 24, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 as we look at financial literacy. Are you a student who is interested in leveling up your finances? Ever wondered how students can invest? What are some creative ways students can budget wisely? Yes, it's all here inside Campus Connection. We will be talking to investment gurus who will shed light on the way to maximize on your investments. Also, you don't want to miss I Chose Christ, You Should Too, and lots more right here on Campus Connection. 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 24 on the family station, Love 101.
Ministry of Labor and Social Security is advising that the January 2023 payment under the Social Pension Program is now ready for collection. Check your text messages to confirm your payment arrangements. For further information, call 876-922-8007 or check the ministry's website, www.mlss.gov.jm. The Social Pension Program, caring for our elderly. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
It's Love 101's 30th anniversary under the theme 30 years of music, family, and love. The celebration has begun with the 30 Days of Love Challenge. Today is day 7, Saturday, January 21. Here's your assignment: buy food for a homeless person.
Yay! Get ready for an inspiring time inside Love in the Morning with me, your host, Jakal Dyer. This Monday, January 23, 5:30 a.m. is Becoming You, a feature that shares tips on how to become the best version of who you are. Then, grab your cup of coffee and start the day right with Morning Coffee Pick Me Up Devotional at 6 a.m. This Music Monday's theme is God's Power. 8:30 a.m. inside Healthy Way, we discuss tinnitus. 9:30 a.m. is Something More, brought to you by the Faith Cathedral Deliverance Center. Stick and stay with us. This Pick Me Up Monday inside Love in the Morning, 5 to 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Blue Ribbon rice means consistent quality. It's sodium-free, cholesterol-free, and fat-free. Add the consistent quality of Blue Ribbon rice to your meal today. Distributed by TK Granted Distributors Limited.
Bye, mommy.
Okay, be safe.
I will.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Jamaica, a one life we have. Don't let this be your story. Look out for yourself and others. Too many Jamaicans are dying on our roads. So, slow down. It's not worth the rush. Arrive alive. A message from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Hey everybody, I'm Ashley.
I'm Jakal. I'm Victor.
I'm Chantel.
And we are
The Pulse Podcast.
You can find us every Saturday at 7 p.m. on Love 101 FM JA's YouTube channel.
Yes, 7 to 8 p.m. And ensure you follow us on social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram.
At The Pulse Podcast JA.
The Pulse Podcast, your weekly source of authentic, Jamaican, faith-based, creative content and edutainment.
About culture, creative expressions, and games. This is the Pulse Podcast.
Welcome back to Sports Talk here on Love 101, the family station. It is 1:40. We're still here with Tanya Lee Perkins, who we're still negotiating about that story.
I feel like we should share that story. I think it's a good story and it ties us together.
All right, let's tell it at the end because
Okay.
I still have some questions.
We're
for
going
you.
to tell that, by the way, if you're wondering what story we're talking about, it's how Daniel and I became connected. I know Daniel even became connected with Andre Blake. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So we've been talking about athletes and brands and so forth. So how do you choose brands for your athletes? Like what considerations go in your head when choosing?
Well, first of all, their ability to pay for the athletes. It's not a $2 sponsorship. I think one of the main things I look for primarily is a connection. I want to make sure that these are brands that can connect with each other and that the relationship looks mutually, what would you call it? That there is some synergy between the brands. So like even with, I have two athletes that are assigned to Digicel, for example. Let me just use Damian Lowe and Brianna Williams as examples. I mean, I think of Digicel as a youthful, fun, vivacious brand. And that's how I consider Damian and Brianna. So that's a good brand fit. And in terms of the family of people that they're going to be paired with, I look at that as well. So you have a Usain Bolt, a Shelley and Fraser Price already signed within that family. And I think that would be a great fit. And even for somebody like Damian. So before Damian, there wasn't a footballer signed to brand Digicel before that pitch. So that's something to say, hey, maybe you need to put a footballer in because you do have a lot of football properties that you sponsor. They sponsor schoolboy football, Jamaica Premier League. So those are some of the things that I look at. How can the athletes benefit the brand? And what kind of brand personality does the brand have? And whether it would connect to the personality that my athletes have.
So one of my very good friends, Rashika, calls the sporting association structure in Jamaica an old boys committee.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately.
And I know that you have to deal with sporting associations a lot. And I know how some of them treat, I know that you say you don't usually see yourself as a woman in per se, but they see you as that and they almost...
Do they?
I mean, unless they don't, like you are one of the few overcomers, but I feel like they don't respect like the woman's voice enough unless you've had other experiences.
I think I've had other experiences. I do think that Jamaica is a little different in that regard to some extent. So some of that does exist. I have faced it in many circles throughout my career, but at the same time, I do have a lot of respect is shown to me once people recognize what I can do and what it is that I have done in the field of sports. So very often I am called by both papers. Let me share a story with you.
Sure.
So let me talk about even the Gleaner. For about 3 years or 4 years, I was the only female sports columnist in Jamaica, writing every Friday for the Gleaner. Now, that to me was such an interesting 360 because I remember when I just left university and I couldn't get a job and I wanted to work in sports. So I volunteered at the Gleaner. And I remember sitting across from the editor-in-chief, Garfield Grandison's office and thinking, he's going to hire me, right? And it never happened, you know. I even did an interview once. I shared this story a lot. And somebody had me do a sports quiz. Like they wanted to check to see if I really knew anything about sports. And I aced it and I still didn't get the job. So there are some of those cases. But eventually I got a call to say, hey, we want you to share your sports views and we're going to pay you for it. So for me, that was such an interesting 360 that eventually, so somebody who they didn't consider for hire eventually was paid to share their opinion on sports. And often I am called to give that opinion today. So even yesterday, I got asked to share my opinion on a couple of topics that I think would be a conflict of interest to speak on, given the representation that I do for some of the athletes. And so you'll find that sometimes I will decline doing that on that basis. But there are a lot of other women who are in the sports space. One very respected voice in sports actually is Carol Beckford, another woman. You have Trishana McGowan. Trishana is doing some pretty good work now.
Debatable.
So Shoshana, if you're listening, but there are many women who work across the sports space, whether it is in marketing consultancy, even in the athlete management space. So in terms of being the heads of marketing for these sporting associations, do I think it's an old boys club? I really still think to some extent a lot of industries in Jamaica, companies, it's still very much a fraternity. We have to adjust that, but I also have not really felt to that. I think I do get my respect.
So what would you say is probably your biggest challenge or challenges in the space?
That's always hard for me to answer because I don't know.
Everything just goes smoothly for you?
No, everything doesn't go smoothly, but I don't really look at challenges as so I expect a healthy share of challenges in anything that I'm going to be working on. So certainly, I'm going to have challenges if I was a man in certain spaces. I'm going to have challenges as a woman. I'm going to have challenges because I may not be well known in that space. Even sometimes I have challenges because I'm well known in this space. It varies, but challenges come with everything that we do. I don't allow it to limit me. I don't concentrate too much on them. I just try to overcome them whenever they come. So I really couldn't even be able to pinpoint it to say this is really the issue that I have.
So speaking of limitations, a lot of our sporting associations tend to speak about their limitations because they lack resources, and no matter who they hire in the marketing on the marketing side, things don't go well for them.
Why are you generalizing?
I mean, because it just seems like a broad issue for all of them, right? Maybe there are one or two exceptions, but if you had to say like one major thing that they are doing wrong or one major thing that they should be doing to improve their product, their teams, their athletes, that type of thing?
Well, you are general, so let me give a general answer to that. I think in any industry, in any space, in any sport, one of the important things to do is to hire the right people. I think that you need people with expertise, people are qualified, people are passionate, and you need to have goals that you're trying to meet. You cannot be I find that there's a lot of reactive management that happens in sports associations in Jamaica and even as a country. And we have to get away from that practice of reacting instead of proper planning and putting measures in place. Those are some of the issues that I find. And I also do sometimes question, what is the intent behind people getting involved with sports sometimes? Like, is it because you are passionate about seeing the development in sports? I think that's an important consideration for persons because it is important that we are progressing as a nation. And I think we have such a huge responsibility to our athletes to ensure that their development is fostered. And some of that is missing. So I would say hire the right people. That's number one. And by the right people, I mean the passion, the expertise, the integrity.
That's a very huge word.
Yes.
I'm going to cut some of my questions, right? Because since you negotiated to be on camera, we will tell the story, right? So we have 10 minutes. So I'm going to ask you this about the athletes, because we're now more in the, well, everybody says the social media age, the digital age,
yes,
like influencers.
I have a love-hate with it.
Yeah, and we're at an all-time high with all these social media platforms. What advice would you give to athletes who haven't been able to capitalize on their brand on social media or wherever it is?
Call lead marketing. Hire a professional. Okay, so not everybody is able to, right? There are people at different levels in terms of their earning. Not everyone is a Usain Bolt, but maybe I should mention that now, speaking about earnings.
No, you can always mention
Bolt. Or Usain. I mean, what's happening now is absolutely crazy. But I think the important thing is to use social media and the digital space as a tool. It is a marketing tool for you to promote your brand. And, you know, we talk about all the ills of social media, and there's a lot of it. I saw something this week that said Instagram make people depressed and Twitter makes people angry. And I think it's so true. In fact, I don't really venture much in the Twitter space because I think it's just such a caustic space. But you have to use it to your advantage, because no more than ever, athletes have the opportunity to get in front of their fan base and to speak specifically to people who'd be interested in their brand. So it's important that they create a plan, think about what they would want to share, and bring people along their journey. It's very important to tell your story, whatever that story is. That's what I'd advise athletes. Tell your story. Start from the grown up. Allow people to follow you along your journey. People want to cheer for something. You can't start at the starting lineup. If the first time I'm seeing you and knowing you is when you're at that starting lineup, you've lost me. Somebody else was speaking to me for 6 months while they were training, for the time where they were putting in the work. And that's where I will gravitate. And that's where I have a fan base. When you look at even football, look at a Messi and a Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Cristiano Ronaldo would have yielded much more fans than Messi in social, not because he's a good looking guy and he's tall and handsome and all of that. Not saying that Messi isn't good looking, but also because I think he has done more brand building over the years. Cristiano has very carefully curated his brand. And so you do see it in terms of the numbers. He's the most followed person on Instagram. He has a bigger following, and he's not more talented than Messi. By the way, that was very hard for me to say as a CR7 fan. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they use social media as a marketing tool.
So just quickly, what advice would you give to people who want to do what you do?
I'm giving them none. I want no competition. No, if it's something you're passionate about, if you believe that your expertise, your skill set can help athletes, because there are a lot of athletes who need this kind of management. There are people that I am not able to take on for a number of reasons in sports. So I know that the market is there. I would say to get qualified, to put the work in. I did not just get up and decide that I was doing this. I have worked for years in the sports space. I understand the athlete. And so I was able to therefore offer my expertise. I've worked in media. I've worn various hats across the spectrum in terms of managing sporting events, working in media, having done track and field myself. So having worn all the hats, I'm better able to help the athletes along their brand journey. So I would say put in the work, because I know we're in the microwave era. I like to think of Gen X, Z as a microwave era, the microwave generation. Like everything should be right now. We need to get it out in 2 minutes. But it takes time. You really have to put the work in. You have to build on your strengths. So once this is a passion, think about how can I create value? I want to get there, but maybe I need to get there in 10 years. So what do I do to make sure that I'm getting there? Create a plan, tick off your lists, decide how you're going to get there. So I need to get these doors open. And that's something I've always done, Danielle. Before I was doing this, there was nobody really doing this. So I didn't have a blueprint, but I felt strongly about the fact that I could offer my expertise in this area of athlete management. And so I did the work of doing my research, getting myself qualified, and seeking out the athlete brands. Yeah.
That's very good, because as we know that you are obviously one of the best in the industry here in the region. So
thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate your work, just as, an outsider. I'm free to be managed if you want to manage a sports journalist.
Thank you. And by the way, congrats on your PAJ nomination.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it still feel like a big deal, I guess. So we have 4 minutes.
So we're gonna share your story.
Because
I feel we should share the story. Should I say who told me this story?
If you feel to, but I don't think it's relevant to the wider. And I don't know if I'm going to want to name.
Anyway, big up Rush Cam, the new digital brand ambassador for Guardian Group Limited. So I was talking to Rashane, and he said to me, Tanya, do you know how Daniel actually got on to working on CVM's World Cup coverage? And I said, no, give me the story, because I thought he was really good. I said to him, I think Daniel is super talented. His analysis was very good. I was very impressed with the work that you did over the World Cup. I told you that much. And he said to me, they were calling Andre Blake, right?
All right. So just to clarify that little part. So Trishana and Damien, who were the hosts, they said that they wanted someone local as well, like another local person. So they had recommended Daniel, which is me, Daniel Blake. So the producer who was overseas, Blake was just in his head. So he messaged me that very same night and was like, can't wait to call you in the morning and everything like that. So he calls me and the first thing he says was, hi, Andre. So immediately I knew something was off, but I was like, well, maybe Daniel Andre, that's an honest mistake, right?
Right.
So,
but he thought you was talking to Andre Blake, the Reggae Boys captain.
Because he said, did my agent Tanya speak with me about anything as yet? So that's when I knew it wasn't me, but I had told him about myself and everything. So he said he'd call me back. He told me if I could get to the studio at like 3 o'clock, and this is like after 12. So I got to the studio, I did the preview show, and then he was impressed. And then
right place, right time. It was yours. It was yours, Daniel.
So I was told. So I did that one day. I think it was the Monday when there were 4 games. So I did the 5 o'clock game, the 8 o'clock game, the 11 o'clock game, and the 2 o'clock game. By the time it got to the 2 o'clock game, Joby McAnuff looked at me and said,
"You're not,
bruv, aren't you tired, mate?" Because I was fully gassed. But after that day, he ended up making me work 8 days straight because he thought I was so impressive. And then I ended up working all the other days on the semis and the finals. So.
Absolutely. There was a point where for Andre, he had a long season. Andre went right down in the MLS, so he had gone to the finals. And this is interesting how both Blake's stories tie up. And so he said, nah, I'm out. I've had enough. This World Cup is long. The analysis takes a lot of watching on the TV. And so, Daniel, I think you were where you were supposed to be.
Yeah, I've been told. So I'm grateful to the CVMC Sport team for, believing in me, because a lot of people would not. Let me just tell you.
Well, I did say, who is this? That was sentence 1. And then in 5 minutes, I said, but no, this young man is solid. And then by match 2, I said, nah, he's in the right place. He's very good. Yes, you did a great job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming and answering all my questions, even though I had to cut some, but I know where to find you, right?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Tanya, for coming. And thank you to everyone who tuned in and watched on YouTube and Facebook and saw Tanya at some point.
Who doesn't like to be on camera? Where do I look? Do I look this way?
Yeah, you look.
Who does not like to be on camera?
Yes, but because we negotiated and I gave the story then, yeah. So remember to watch and listen to Sports Talk every week on Saturdays, 1 to 2 p.m. right here on Love 101. So thank you so much. Please enjoy your weekend. And as always, watch some sports.